Hello, Fast Brick Studios here, and welcome back guys to week 12 of building up the LEGO Simpsons Springfield. Let's jump right into it. And we're back again, guys, continuing to build up this absolutely massive LEGO Simpsons Springfield. But before we dive in any further, I once again want to remind you guys, if you have not already supported the LEGO Simpsons Krusty Burger on LEGO Ideas, I absolutely highly recommend that you guys go ahead and support that project. We have recently passed the 8K mark, meaning that at this point in time, we have a little over 1,000 supporters to go to get to 10K. And at 10K, LEGO will take the Krusty Burger into consideration to becoming an official LEGO set. And this right here may as well be the return of this very anticipated LEGO Simpsons theme. But with all of that being out of the way, let's get back to building the LEGO Simpsons Springfield for week number 12 right now. Alright guys, in jumping into week 12 of building the LEGO Simpsons Springfield, what I have in mind for this week's episode is because I'm still waiting upon my BrickLink order to come in so I can get the remainder of the interior and a little bit of the exterior as well to the Simpsons house complete, and even a little bit of evergreen terrace here as well. I will be moving on to building the cars that will be going into Springfield. I have the police car being right here, and Homer's car. I've started finding all of those parts again because I kind of had it all parted out back there, but soon enough I will be finding all of those parts. Have already started it right off in this small pile right here, and then improve it to a much more greater extent, similar thing as we're going to do to the police car, and make it a lot more like it was from the Simpsons TV show. I'm thinking I'm going to do all of that in the form of a live stream, so I will see you guys then. But aside from that, I think after we're going to get all of this here built up and figured out, rebuilt and all of that, just maybe if I find all of the necessary parts to build up another car from Springfield, we'll go ahead and do that as another little bonus for this week's episode. But with all of that being said, I'll see you guys once again at the live stream with even more updates on the way. Alright guys, and jumping into the very first update of the week here. After the live stream and after a bit more building here and trying to figure out a lot of different things, I think we've gotten a pretty good start upon building up the cars that will be going into Springfield. I've nearly completed the police car already, and just have gotten a start upon building up Homer's car. But getting back over to the police car and what progress we have made to it, first and most noticeable change here you guys can see is I've changed out the upper siren build completely, entirely improved it. And I think with this design, it's a lot more accurate to what you see in the show. And ironically, he used up the very same megaphone piece that was included with Chief Wiggum as his accessory. I've entirely modified the hood design going onto the car, and with this one being changed out, I think again it makes the slightest bit more accuracy to the entirety of the police car. Other small little changes go as I've changed out the headlight pieces to being now trans clear instead of being the translucent yellow. And for consistency reasons, I've taken out the entire light bluish gray plate that was just wedged into here and what the entire car was essentially built on, and replaced it with a couple more accurate colors, like having the white now match up with the white, and then having the black match up with the black, and now everything is a lot more smoother transitioning, and I think with that being done, it created a little bit more accuracy to the entire car as a whole. But now, let's continue building Homer's car and see what other progress are we able to make. Let's get building. Alright guys, and jumping into the very next update of the week here, I've gotten even more progress done to the very first two cars going into Springfield, and I've actually made a couple of improvements going on to the Simpsons house, even though I wasn't even planning to do anything there this week. But before we dive in and look at all of that there, let's start out with looking at the cars. And so, starting off with the police car and looking over into the interior, I've swapped out the previous reddish brown seating to now being light bluish gray, making the overall car look a lot more accurate to what we see in the show, and just matching up with those 1x2 cheese slopes up in front a lot better. And as you guys can see under here, I've basically taken apart the entire previous frame that was holding up the car and how to modify it so I can get these wheel axle connections in place. A little bit of a different piece than we previously had, being initially this 1x4 axle connection piece. And I think the end result by doing so was very much worth it, even though it required a lot of destruction. And now with this concept in mind, I'll be basically applying it to all of the cars going into my Simpsons Springfield. And as you guys can see right here, I've already started to do that with Homer's car. And since we were able to get this wheel in a place, I think you guys know what we should do.
Ow! Ow! Ow!
And so, speaking of the family car and what progress we have gotten done here, you guys can see I've gotten a bit more building done all the way throughout. I couldn't get everything particularly built up simply because I am waiting for my BrickLink order to come in to where it has all of the other small pieces to like fill in all of these gaps and get some of the more inconsistent colors all built up in that very same order that has all of the other parts to finish off the Simpsons house. But getting back to the family car and what progress again we have made, you guys can see I've made quite a bit of changes since the official LEGO Simpsons design. I've changed out the entire front of the assembly by adding in this hood piece going up on the front, and by entirely changing out the front grille design and now adding in these two masonry bricks to make it a bit more accurate to what we see in the show. And towards the back, I've just swapped out some of the seating designs. And as goes for the small improvements that we were able to make to the Simpsons house, is if we look off on the side, you guys can see the chimney in particular looks a lot more cleaner now. Basically just removed all of the 1x4 and 1x2 tan Lego plates going in between some of the layers, and I think with doing so and replacing them with medium nougats makes the overall chimney design look a lot cleaner. And now with that being done, we basically have a little bit more of an accurate Simpsons house build as a whole. But that right there is all of the progress that we were able to make within this week's episode, greatly focusing upon the construction of the very first two cars going into Springfield and figuring out how I can get those wheels now to be further inset within the cars, and soon enough will be applied to the rest of the cars going into Springfield. But with all of that being considered, let's move out into the outro and finish off week number 12. And there we are, guys, at the end of week number 12 to be building up the LEGO Simpsons Springfield. with this week being a little bit different than we usually do, as we usually build the house or Evergreen Terrace. This week, we built up the cars going into Springfield. Now with that being said, the progress that we made to those cars was very much solid, understanding the concept of how are they going to be built up, and going ahead and building up the very first two cars. But now moving over into next week's episode, and what progress I have planned then is going back to building Evergreen Terrace and the Simpsons House. Meaning I should be getting my BrickLink order in next week's episode, right at the beginning of next week, hopefully, fingers crossed, to which I can then continue upon building up the interior of the first floor, the second floor, the attic, finish off the roof, and see what other progress will we be able to get after that. But with all things considered, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, and let me know down below in the comment section of what are your guys' thoughts on the improvements that we were able to make to the very first two cars going into Springfield. But with all of that being said, keep on building, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.